Chad, this is Mike. Can you hear me?
Hey, Mike. Yeah, this is Chad.
How you doing, bud? How's everything going?
Good.
Good. I'm glad, man. Hey, I got to tell you, man, you hit it out of the park with this one. Crypt of Ice. What a debut.
Yeah, I appreciate you, dude. Thanks very much, man.
Oh, man, you guys killed it on this. I mean, I know you've had other releases out, over the last 2 years, but being the first full-length record, I mean, you got to be happy. I mean, the band started a little over 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. You signed to Century Media. You have your debut record out. I mean, what could be better than that?
Yeah, man, it's been wild to say the least. I mean, it's something we never fully expected to happen, but we just, the snowball started rolling, man, and we just kept building it and kept going and going and going, trying to do the best that we could, and the hard work's actually started paying off. That's weird.
Yeah, no, but you're right. I mean, you think about it, bands would kill to be in that position. But they think it was handed to you. Nothing is handed to anybody today, especially in the music business. You guys did work for it, but, how did it come about to make that contact to get on Century Media so quick and so early?
Well, I think it, kind of boiled down to, the help of, just getting out on the road. When we wrote our demo, we were really happy with it, and it's not that we thought it would do well, but we were confident, that our friends would support us and like it, because we essentially just wrote music we like to hear, and when we put it out on Maggot Stomp, it just kind of started gaining a lot of traction that we just were not expecting, and so we were like, okay, we got to get on the road. So, we started touring within just a couple of months of putting our demo out. And then, we had the help of our friends in Play Gears and stuff like that. And they took us out when they were hitting their tour with Skeletal Remains. And, that helped gain us a lot of traction. We started playing some really good shows locally with Vader and stuff like that. And then we went on our last tour with Steelberry Hand and played a place like St. Vitus in Brooklyn, and we had Trevor from Black Dahlia Murder posting about us, and all of that happening. I guess the vice president of A&R for Century Media, Mike Gitter, I guess he saw us on his timeline. And decided to message us and just see what we were up to and what our plans were, and we kind of just talked to him about everything, and we already had a plan for everything. We had been talking about it, we had talked about music videos, and we were trying to figure all this stuff out, just doing it ourselves, without any real help or anything. And we ended up being serious, and we ended up figuring it out and then making a deal. It all basically came down to just the help of Maggot Stomp, his following, working together, and then getting out there and touring and supporting your friends and stuff. That's how word spreads. It's everybody helping each other.
Yeah, that was always the biggest thing in music to me. You have to make friends with other bands, and each one brings the other one up and carries them along and helps them out, and then you get in the position to do the same thing for upcoming bands also, and that's the way the scene survives and actually thrives. Texas always had a great metal scene going back to the 80s. Is it still relevant today? Is there still? I know right now nothing's happening with COVID, but before that, was it a pretty good scene?
Yeah. The scene here is really good, and the scene everywhere we went was really good. Even on the small tours that we did before we got signed, the scenes were great. And here, especially, our scene is awesome because it's mixed between the punk and hardcore scene mixed with the metal scene, and people are the scenes are converging. They're not as segregated as they used to be. It's awesome, man. We played our last show was with. We played with the Death Thrashers, Steelberry Hand, who we toured with, and we played with Obituary, and that's where we shot footage for our Encased Nice music video. That show had literally a insanely mixed crowd. It was awesome, and it was like completely sold out. It was awesome. Man. It's really good. We got a great CD.
That's good to know. I mean, being a death metal band, I always felt that death metal was one of the genres that not only survived, like when everything else kind of died out in the 80s, but it thrived, and it grew bigger and bigger, and it became self-insulated into a way. Do you feel death metal today is still the same with bands like Mantis, Possessed, Death, and that kind of group, even Obituary, an old school band, like you said?
I feel like it's always stayed within its realm. But I do feel like death metal is bigger than it's ever been right now.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like when I watch videos and documentaries and stuff from like back in the day, and I see and hear the things from before my time, and then I look at the way things are now, and I see bands like Obituary, like touring the world, headlining gigs and stuff like that. Like I just honestly feel like it's bigger than it's ever been. And then you've got bands like Blood Incantation, Skeletor Remains, Necrai, Creeping Death, just Singusugabog is another one. Undeath, like they're bands that are like carrying the death metal into a new era, and but bringing the old school back.
Yeah.
While keeping death metal moving forward. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you still have like Black Dahlia Murder, which is, I think, bigger than they've ever been right now. And Trevor, he is probably the biggest death metal addict I've ever seen in my life, and the most supportive. And I guarantee if you asked him, he'd say the same thing. That death metal is just an awesome spot.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, going back, I'm old, so you got to forgive me. Going back to the early days when death metal first started coming out, and people were like, I don't get this. I don't get it. I'm like, you're not listening. You got to listen to what's going on. You got to hear what's happening. And they just didn't get it. And then I thought it would always be, to me, death metal was always consistent, like with its product and what was put out. Then it started getting into these subgenres and subcategories of death metal. And I love that you're kind of bringing the old school back, but yet you're very modern. And I don't mean that in a bad way. As far as music goes.
Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, it's the way. I mean, like the way we did it was very intentional. We wrote our demo and we put it out, something that sounds like it was recorded in 1990, and it's very lo-fi. And then with the new release, like we are trying to move forward as a band, and we definitely see and hear and pay attention to everything. And we have badass technology nowadays, and we want to be able to utilize it. So we want our sound to have production, and for you to be able to hear the things that you couldn't hear back in the day. But at the same time, still have that rawness. That still reminds you of that good old death metal. I think we did a pretty good job. I'm happy with the job we did on that, but we gotta mix it up. It can't just always sound like you recorded it in a basement.
True. Like I said, you were talking about like going old school and stuff like that, and I feel like when you're in any sort of genre of music, where a million people have done what you're doing before you, to come out and be different, to come out yet be familiar but be different is the hardest thing in the world, because you have so much to draw from where it can influence how you sound, but yet you got to put your own spin on it, and that's something I think that you guys created.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we worked really hard at that. We were very considerate of like our friends' bands and other bands that are popular, like doing things. Like we didn't try to jock too much of anyone's style or sound. We really wanted to like create our own thing where we still played the music that we wanted to hear. I love Obituary. I love Bolt Thrower. I love Suffocation. I love Mortician. I love a lot of those bands, but and you can find little pieces of those bands. You can find little things in our music that remind you of those bands, but we never took any of their specific riffs or any of that stuff because we don't want to do that. We want to do our own things. We just want to write music that we like to do. And I think when you pay attention to what other bands are doing, and as long as you keep their hard work in your mind, then what you do is going to come out, as original as it can be for death metal. I mean, come on, it's death metal.
I get that. Being a drummer, I guess by trade, I should say, going to fronting this band and being up front, you go from one extreme to the other where you're in the back, you're behind everything, you're kind of isolated, to being the main focus and the focal point of the band. Is it a big adjustment?
Yeah, it was pretty big. I came into doing vocals originally because our other band, In Times, my brother was singing and he couldn't make it happen in the band, so I stepped up to write and do everything, and I realized that I really enjoyed it, and that I actually realized that vocals, in my eyes, are a lot similar to drums, in the sense that it's very rhythmic, and you have to do things a certain way. So, with Frozen Soul, after we wrote the demo, we decided to find a drummer. And once I started doing vocals, I instantly realized that this is what I would rather do. And it has turned out to be a lot easier than drumming, for me personally. So.
Wow. I mean, with everything being shut down throughout most of the country right now, and even overseas, I mean, how is Texas right now? Are there venues to play at, or is it completely shut down still?
No, it's not completely shut down. Just about everything is open.
Oh, good.
Yeah, everything is open, but, cases are still really high, and so, shows are still not happening and whatnot, but bars are open. They're operating as restaurants, movie theaters. Everything is open pretty much in Texas. So.
Well, your debut record, you want to get it out, you want people to hear it, and then you want to go out and play behind it, something that can happen. So what do you do now? I mean, you're just going to sit back and wait for things to take place, or you're maybe going to use the internet to do a little bit more promoting, some live streams or something to keep the momentum of the album going?
Yeah, honestly, you really have to stay moving at all times. You can't stay stagnant and just wait for things to happen for you. I think that actually doesn't just go for the pandemic. That goes for everything outside of the pandemic too, in the pandemic. But when it's over, you have to move forward. You have to constantly be searching for opportunities for yourself and for your band. For us personally, we're always working on what's the next thing we're gonna do. Is it a live stream? Is it more music videos? How do we engage people through just all sorts of stuff, man. And we are just as busy right now as if we were this pandemic had never happened. We are working every single day on something with this band. Except now we just have a lot more time to do it.
Yeah. Well, I was at the St. Vitus show, and I'm hoping that you guys can get back. Right now, there's nothing going on in New York. It's been like that since last March. So I'm hoping that, it comes around again. We can get these bands back out on the road. I would love to see you perform live again. It would be incredible.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome, man. St. Vitus was so much fun to play. It was like a dream come true, and I just cannot wait to get back.
Yeah, I hope it happens, Chad. Listen, I'm not going to keep you, man. I know you have a whole bunch of interviews to do. The record's been out for 3 weeks now. Crypt of Ice on Century Media. What a solid job, man. I'm looking forward to what you come up with next.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the kind words, brother. It really means a lot.
All right, you keep doing what you're doing, man, and we'll get there.
All right, dude. See you
Take
later.
care, buddy. Bye-bye.